Good evening and welcome to Monza. It's Division 3 Monday night once again. Division 3 is back on a Monday, as always. I'm the main commentator, Charlie Smithy23. After a week away, I'm back. What I'm guessing was an exciting race last week. This week, at one of the oldest circuits on the F1 calendar, one of the oldest purpose-built racetracks in the world, is Monza. Layout changes in its history, of course, there through turn one. The chicane's added in not recent, but not so far history. And one of the fastest tracks in the world as well. Of course, used to have the bank. Of course, seeing here a lot of cars coming out on track. I'll get the last week's up, but I'm going to hope it was an exciting race in my absence. Just need to pull the Discord up. There we go. It'll be standings. But we'll see a couple of cars go out in the first laps while I'm picking that up. Wakey Joe was the first one entering towards turn one, out of the parabolica, so parabolic curve. Anyone who has done maths GCSE will know exactly what that is, or just maths in general. Heading into turn one, the first double chicane, first 1 and 2, and out there, it looks like he's invalidated. He may have done that out the parabolica, very easy to do. Of course, Alex Haig there, into turn one, the Red Bull. Doing well so far this season. So I'm just trying to find the standings. There we go, just pulled it up. Eventually. Last week in Saudi Arabia, it was a Halvor win in the in the Sauber. As Dylan Vince is out, not too sure if he has a. This is my poor planning. Sorry about this. Do apologise for that one. So no penalties there. So we're right on board Alex Haig, just crossing the line. It's going to go with a 20.1 for the first lap of the session. John Mobes in the home Ferrari, not too far behind, just coming towards the parabolica. Halvor and Ronnie ahead of them. Doran Sess the fastest lap, 19.8. He is second in the championship, just ahead of this man here, John Mobes. Halvor goes to the top of the timings though, beating Doran again. And John Mobes slips to fourth. And Energy Dan, I'm not sure if it's his Div 3 debut this week, but he is into P5. Billy G, Division 4 champion last season, P6. And Matty in the Ferrari is going to P4, slipping ahead of his teammates and behind Alex Haig on the second row of the grid. Night Creed in the McLaren coming out the final corner with the Chrome McLaren from a couple of weeks ago. He enters the pits after invalidation. Very easy to do at this track. You've got the Ascari chicane, which Wakey Joe has just came out of. You can see a slip, not a slip, a straight there, and out the final corner, parabolic. Very easy to just run wide as he nearly did. He was just straddling the line to stay in bounds there, and he does. And he moves up to P6 on his opening lap of the session as it enters for Salguero, which is interesting to see. Ronnie coming round now. Here we go. He's just done his outlap. Perfect line there. He doesn't go too wide. Could use a bit more of the track. Can of course go three wheels off the track. As long as you've got one on, that's all that matters in Formula 1. It's not like the GTs where you can go over the curbs and stay on the curbs. So he's got a tyre on the curb, that is all that matters. Yeah, turn 1 here. A lot of bumps. Of course, you can see them on the inside of the corner of the sausage curbs. Just horrible to bounce over. Looks like Doran's going for a second lap as he comes through Curva Grande and towards the Della Roggia chicane. Hamilton versus Vettel in 2018 incident, and of course, just recently, in the most recent race, Sainz versus Behrman through that corner. And you saw a lot of slipstreams on Sunday if you watched the race. There was a lot of that. Through Lesmo 1 and through Lesmo 2 for Doran. 2/10 up in that first sector alone. It's not easy to gain too much time around here, so you should expect a close qualifying 1.2 as the field spread at the minute. As he heads under the old bank, and you can see it there. I would hope they'd be nice to see them redo the banking and have a couple of cars on it. NASCAR, really exciting to see, of course, during 2020, I believe in the COVID year, they did racing around there on the sim, which was quite a good race. That's coming out the final corner. Esteban Doran is going to come into the pits. He isn't going to set a lap. He was up before he entered the pits. Well, he was through sector 1 at least. Ronnie will come in too, I'm guessing. Halvor's going to go to the line. He's 3/10 down. He's going to enter the pits first, though, ahead of his teammate. But he gives his teammate the toe, actually, there. Preb up to P4. Completely missed him on his lap. He moves up in the Williams. Monza, in real life at least, has been a historical good track for Williams with the low downforce in recent years they've had. Think back to 2022 when Nick De Vries got points on his debut after replacing Alex Albon for that race, and then got a drive with AlphaTauri and didn't do much with that in 2023, replaced by Ricciardo, and then Lawson replaced Ricciardo when he injured his hand later that season, as Hicks goes to the top of the time, and in the Mercedes with a good lap there, an 18.8. That's nearly a full second quicker than Halvor. So it's either track is ramping up or Hicks is in Division 2. And I guess we'll find it out now. So it's 18.8 is the time to beat for Alex Haig, sorry. Just coming through the opening chicane now. And through towards turn 3. It's a long, long corner. It just feels like it goes on forever. You turn and forever, at least in the GTs. But F1 cars is more of just a bit of a kink, looked like there. So Alex Haig heads through turn 4 and 5. And through Lesmo 1. It's sliding on the exit there. Lesmo 2, let's see if he can do much better there. He's just going to use the track that he's comfortable with. DRS open down this back straight, it's downhill. As you can see, a little bit banked as well. And then straight uphill towards the Ascari chicane. 2.5 tenths up. That's not nowhere near the fastest lap time as he heads through the exit of Ascari. And there's yellows ahead, that's Hicks ahead in the Mercedes. And if qualifying to look by, it's going to be a dominating performance for him, over a second clear. And he looks like he got in the way a bit there, but it's not going to hinder the Red Bull too much. He's going to come to the line, he's going to set a 19.7, 3/10 improvement, up to P3 with that improvement. Doran on alt lap now. Ronnie is improved up to P5. Sonic Hawk making a return as well in the Alpine operator on a lap at the minute as well as his teammate Nycreed, who I believe is coming through Ascari now. No, that's his teammate coming through Ascari. Operator on an invalidated lap again. As looks like Dan just moved up there, 6 tenths for the Aston Martin. He's absolutely flying on his outing there, first outing. Doran, his teammate, warming the tyres. Tyre warm up crucial around this track. It's just so long, so many straights. You just cool down before entering the corners, and that's a slow McLaren out of Ascari. Looks to be just letting him through. That is Nycreed. As that is Doran in the wall, he's at the grass, and that is not what he wanted to be doing. Head of his second run in quali, and that is left a little bit with egg on his face there. Here's Doran. course, on stream, and that's unlucky. But he'll return. He'll get those tyres probably back on for another 2 laps before the end of the session. The car ahead of him on track is behind him in the pits, as John Mobes did move up to second with a 7/10 improvement, still 6/10 off of Hicks. And I'm just looking up and down. Who is on a lap? Wakey Joe just starting. Dan on an in lap. John Mobes on an in lap. Matty just started lap as well. Wakey Joe in the Haas through turn 1 and 2. Through Curva Grande now. He's just going to ease it round. Don't want to be coming too far over to the right. Hitting that grass and getting the car skidding into the Della Roggia. Same goes for the 2 Lesmos. Very easy, just inch over and hit the grass on the outside. The final 2 corners, final 2 braking zones at least, I've got curbing and painted concrete to avoid that issue. Of course, I may like to get over early due to a bump on the right hand side of that. No such issue in the game. It actually looks like Parabolica is covered with grass as well, so it's not reflecting real life there. As he comes to the line, Wakey Joe is going to set a 19.8, a 6/10 improvement there as well, and a 6 position improvement up to P5 from P11, and it's going to be Matty to P7. Good lap for him. Preb up 7/10. This is a lap to put him on the front row as it stands. Provisionally, front row for the Williams would be great. And it will put him on the front row. It's going to go 8/10 improvement and 19.2. 2/10 ahead of Mobes. But still 4/10 behind Hicks, who is starting another lap. He's going to try and extend that lead at the top through turn 1. Braking heavy down to second. Short shift up to third is probably required if you haven't got traction control on. Very easy to just lose the rear end and go skidding off into the gravel or polystyrene boards through on the inside of turn 1. Already a 10.5 up. Through sector 1 is Hicks, and this is an amazing lap on the cards for the Mercedes as he comes through Lesmo 1. Nice and just gliding through Lesmo 2, near enough. Looked like he went flat through there. You could just hear the little lift off, not even braking. By the sounds of that car, DRS open underneath the old banking and popping back up for Ascari as he heads through left, right, and then quick flick left again for a short blast of about 10 seconds into the Parabolica. Enters it near enough perfect. He's absolutely on the ball. Is that Mercedes? Car's on the inside. Entering the pit lane, he doesn't even tuck into the inside to take the quicker line, and he's still going to go for an 18.5. That is a great lap. Looks like Ronnie's coming to the line as well. He moves up to the second row, P3, and that is it's a good place to be. P1, obviously where you want to be. You get pole position, you get clean track ahead. You get more pressure on you though. And you don't want to be doing that too often. Yeah, not too often. You don't want to be folding under pressure too often. What I more mean is that P3, like Russia, well, like Sochi used to be, it's a good place to start with the long run into turn 1. It's the same for other long run tracks. Kota is a good one for that with the wide entry into turn 1. Easy to just throw her up the inside and see what you can pull off through there. Doran coming to the line now. He's going to go into the 19s for a 19.4. He was already in them. And a 19.4 with a 4/10 improvement and a P4 for him. Ronnie made it up to P3 on his last lap, just ahead of Doran. His teammate Halvor leading the championship, however. Last time I was here was Bahrain, and he absolutely dominated that race with his teammate. It was a 1-2 for Sauber. And They looked really, really clean in that race. Just through sector 1 there, the Del Roche chicane. Those curves are a little less bouncy than the turn 1 ones, so you can just kind of throw it over and see what you get. Looks like he's backed off there actually, as he has Energy Dan behind him. Has joined me in the commentary box this season. Actually, there he is. He's just starting to lap. It was Doran behind him. But right on board with Dan for a lap. 2 minutes to go in the session. People will be finishing their final laps now. Actually, Night Creed is one of them. He's not going to be improving. He is in P13. Billy G is going to be hoping to improve. 20.9 so far for the Division 4 champion last season. He's going to go for 20.4. And he's going to have, hopefully, another lap to reset that battery. And it'll be Dan. So it'll be Halvor first. He's going to start his final lap of the session. Ronnie is improving though through that middle sector, just half a tenth up, which would put him in P3 if he can pull another quarter of a tenth. And we'll see. Just coming through the parabolic. He needs a perfect exit out of there. He's using all the track he can on the outside. Just keeping all 4 on the racetrack though, and he's going to move to 19.1. He's going to move to P2. Preb into 7:10 for the final run of the lap. 7:10 is what John Mobes had last lap, and he looks like he's up to P5 and another 2/10 improvement through sector 1 so far. Very quick lap for him. And on to Energy Dan, who is 5.6 seconds down. Maybe going for another lap now. He looks like he is. That's because he is. Billy G 1.6 down. Does he have time for another lap? Yeah, he does. More than enough time. We'll see a couple of these going for them now. Wakey Joe is one of them. He was even on his last split. Alex Haig 3/10 improved on the last. Halvor doesn't and can't improve. He's out of the session. Doran doesn't feel he can improve either. John Mobes is going to be very close to getting to the line for another lap. He might not have the battery for another lap. Preb up to P3. Just crossing the line to start his final lap now. John Mobes, P5, that'll be the highest he can get. His teammate looking to top that. Energy Dan looking to top that. Salguero up to P12 at the minute as well as he starts his final lap of the session. But it'll be next up Energy Dan, who invalidates out of that final chicane. That's not exactly what he wants us to do. Same for Alex Haig. Alex Haug, sorry. Should be really improving on my pronunciation of that one. Prep was a 10.5 down, 3/10 down. Doesn't look like he'll be improving either. Dan's in. Matty is the one that can improve, and he is looking like he's going to improve out the final corner. He's going to have to keep it tight to the inside. Every bit of a tenth, and it's going to work for P3. Matty's going to go onto the second row, just ahead of Preb. And just behind Ronnie, it's Hicks on pole, followed by Ronnie in P2, Matty P3 for him, and Preb P4. Doran rounds off your top 5. Quite a good qualifying there. Hopefully it transfers over into the race. Hicks by far the standout though, by 0.6 of a second. Takes pole position. I'm just waiting on Salguero in the pits to get his car in. And we'll get there any second now. Before we move on to qualifying, to the race, sorry. There we go. So it's Hicks on pole by nearly 0.7 to OWR Ronnie. Matty's P3, Preb is P4, Doran P5, John Mobes is P6. Halvor will go to 7th alongside Alex Haig. Both will be OWR boys next to each other on the grid. Wakey Joe and Energy Dan 9 and 10. Billy G in P11, Salguero P12, Night Creed P13, Operator in P14, P15 goes to Lewis RFC, Dylan Vince, not setting a lap in P16, and Sonic Hawk as well, not setting a lap in P17. Good quality from Ronnie and Preb, says someone in the chat. Hicks should be Div 2. That's another shout in the chat there. And let's see. He didn't win last race. I think the person who won 2 in a row was actually Halvor. Because he has won 2 in a row. Saudi and Bahrain. Doran come home P2 last race in Saudi Arabia. Of course, I was not there. But very good to see some good racing there. Right now, on to, speaking of the championship, we'll go through that. So, as I said earlier, just a minute ago, Halvor leads, Doran is P2, John Mobes is P3, not far behind is his teammate, and then Billy G. No wins, no podiums, but consistent all season and gets him P5 in the championship so far. Alex Haug is P6, Tom is in P7, and Preb in P8, Hicks P9 with 1 win to his name, which came in Japan. And no other podiums beside that. Mitrandia is in P10 and hasn't, came at P3 last week actually. Strategy for this race. So moving on to the constructors there, as I just have to run to grab some water for the race. So championship for constructors, Ferrari is P1, P2 is Kick Sauber and Williams P3, along with Aston Martin in P4. P5 is Red Bull so far, and according to Martin, who is very often on the stream, not on it, but interacting with the stream. Not too sure if he is tonight. If he is, good evening. Thanks for the information. Be using it now. So according to this race, it'll be either a 1-stop or a 2-stop. 1-stop is quicker, is what I've been told. So if I get that wrong, you know who to blame. 1-stop is apparently quicker. However, you need good tyre management, and it's probably for non-TC users as well. So according to Martin, it'll be TC users going for a 2-stop due to struggling tyre wear. and people who think they're good at management is a one-stop, as it's too late for them to decide now, as the formation lap is underway. And we'll see what they go for. So it's hard medium or hard medium medium is what I've been told. So we should see everyone on the hards, and we do, apart from Mobes, Salguero, Operator, Lewis, and Dylan Vince. So all of them, the odd ones out. Sonic Hawk on the hards, making a return to SFR, as well as Dan in P10. As we lead the formation lap, Hicks looking to just get away well, but Matty in a nice position. So is Ronnie though. Ronnie having the inside line for turn 1. If he just gets a bit of a better start, he can kind of send it up the inside and use that inside line to his advantage to take turn 1 and take the lead going into turn 1. Matty can use the slipstream from the 2 ahead. Same goes for Preb as well. And you want to really be anywhere on the grid for the first 2 but well, you really want to be anywhere on the first 2 front rows around Monza. I think that's the best place. Of course, pole is where you really want to be. As heading round to the final bit of the formation lap now. No DSQs, please, for the front runners. That'll be interesting. As lead up to the line, there we go. Hicks, pressure got to him on pole. Disqualification. Ahead of the pole position, Preb has followed suit. Now Doran's got a run on him. Ronnie and Matty have an advantage over the pole sitter. And Sonic Hawk just coming into position, over the position. As we see now, at the Temple of Speed. 5 lights are on, and we're green to go in Monza, and it looks like it's a great start for Hicks on pole there. Matty with an even better start in P3, has the slipstreaming heading into turn 1, no contact, looks like Doran on the grass. Doran goes round, Hicks takes turn 1 and gets a 10-second penalty. Doran slipping down after a spin from P3. Cars all over the road, the 2 McLarens going off as well. Doran got forced onto the grass, spinning around. Billy G down there too. Lewis RFC fighting with his teammates. Sonic Hawk 5 positions off the start. Dylan Vince up to P9 as well, as they're all heading through. Hicks with a massive corner cut though, and that is a horrible penalty to pick up at the very not even the first corner, second corner of the race. A 10-second penalty, which he'll have to serve in his eventual pit stop, as he can't stay the whole race out. But Matty behind with a good start over Ronnie, who had a poor one. Preb P4 fighting with John Mobes as well, who's had a terrific start on the mediums. Halvor in P6, Wakey Joe P7, Dylan Vince with a good start on the mediums as well, and Salguero with a great one too. But Doran with a horror of a start. Dan in P14 from what was P5. Moved up to P4 at the start of the race as well, I'm pretty sure. Halvor gets past John Mobes. So those 2 fighting on the opening lap. Halvor absolutely rapid. Matty with the fastest lap, of course, due to the Hicks penalty. There's Dylan Vince looking in towards turn 1. Salguero's looking on Alex Haug into turn 1. There we go. The Portuguese driver puts his nose up the inside. It's a clean run in it. He's got his teammate behind. He's going to try and force his way out the outside. It's not going to work. His teammate's there, and he doesn't want to hit him. And up the inside goes Billy G, making the most of the little squabble between the 2 Alpines. And just gets ahead. Speaking of teammates, his former teammate behind him is Doran. The Sonic Hawk just proceeds to lift off to avoid any confrontation with the 2 drivers. And those 2 teammates last season and on the last game, they Obviously not teammates this season in Division 3, but it looks like Doran's going to get the better of him around Monza. That's a bit of ease for him as he flies past into the Ascari chicane with the DRS. He's got Salguero ahead on the mediums though. RFC overtaken by Operator down at the back. But it's up to Ronnie now, who is chasing Matty for net P1. As Hicks does have that 10-second, but he's absolutely rapid. As you can see there, a second quicker that last lap. As Ronnie takes P2 with the DRS easily past that Ferrari into turn one. I'm not going to see a move there. Surely not. Preb just hanging on to the DRS of those two, but a little squarely out of turn two. Might lose him a bit of time. It's all a bit of a DRS train. Everyone's just within DRS of each other in this front row, or front pack here, from second down to 7th. Wakey Joe just dropped out of that with Dan behind, who dips a wheel into the gravel. Alex Haug and Doran fighting along with that. Doran gets past Salguero on the last lap, or the start of this lap. Very quick, however, for him. The league isn't doing the full season. There is 3 divisions. You can catch us on Facebook for the link, or on Discord, or Instagram as well. I believe we're on Instagram. If you can just search up Speed Force Racing, Sonic Hawk and Salguero fighting for P13 and 14. Sonic Hawk just proceeds to let them through there by the looks of it. Ronnie, fastest lap of the race. So they have 2 shots for Hicks. Not too apparent there now. The OWR driver is going a bit higher. And that'll be an interesting battle to see with that 10-second penalty as well. Kinda has ruined Hicks's plan to just escape. He needs to escape now. He wanted to escape in the first place, but he needs to absolutely floor it every lap of this race now to pull out the gap on the car behind, who has pulled out a DRS. Preb and Halvor fighting. It looks like Preb may have made the mistake there. He has, because he's let Dylan Vince back into the DRS, who has overtaken John Mobes. I might see a move by Vince in the Red Bull. DRS is open for him, and he's just going to cruise past under the bridge and take a top 5 position from the Williams. Now pushes on to Halvor. He's pushing on to Matty. Matty is under pressure here before they even get to the final corner. It's going to be a final corner lunge, maybe. No. Just going to sit behind is the Salvet, and that is adventurous, but he's right on the tail for a move down the main straight, and he's going to absolutely get the move done into turn one. You'd believe so, considering the speed he had down the back straight, but a massive double lock up from Matty into turn one. Not going to help his tyres whatsoever, and in what Martin described as a tyre saving race isn't gonna work if you keep doing that. So you just see quite a few cars in a bit of a DRS train right now. You need to use your ERS strategically in this little area that you're in. John Mobes just there. Dylan, I just got a notification in the chat there. Didn't read the full thing, it kind of cut off halfway through. Saying, should Dylan barely be racing people when he's from a higher division? Doesn't matter as long as he doesn't affect anything. His points don't count. Points don't count for Red Bull. He's not a reserve for Division 2. Division 3, sorry. Unless he has been moved down, which I'm not too sure he has. As Halvor fighting around the outside of Matty. The two of them make contact through turn one. This is opening the move for Dylan Vince as we speak of him. Looking around the outside of turn 2 there. It's going to turn to the inside for turn 3. In looking, Preb is probing. Dylan Vince makes it to P4. Preb makes it to P5. Halvor has the inside line for the De La Rocha chicane on his other OWR teammate, but he's not going to go for it. He's going to go for a switchback. He might have a little look into Lesmo 1. No, he's not going to get that move. But back to the question. Oh, that's a bit of a slide. And round the outside of Lesmo 2 goes Halvor. And that is there, as it is a console league on it's PS5 sorry, league is SFR. We don't do crossplay at the minute. So, this is a cracking battle between quite a few cars here. Preb just looking about as well. This is an interesting one as Dan and Alex Haug are racing at the back of this pack, with Doran trying to have a comeback race. As we look at the front cars, there's yellow flags in second 2. That might be a possible VSC coming. No, it's not. But Preb is overtaken by Halvor. Dylan Vince has escaped from the DRS. Doran having a look at Alex Haug, and no one's going to make a move. But on the exit, that looks like Wakey Joe with a better exit. He's going to stick it around the outside of the Curva Grande, which will turn to the inside for the De La Rocha, but he doesn't even need the De La Rocha to get that move done. He's well ahead before the braking point. Oh, and that's a big lock-up for Dan, who goes onto the escape road. He's going to lose a position and lose another position. Is Dan, a massive lock-up. John Mobes coming across. He's braking a bit too early, or maybe braking a bit too late there for Dan. And he locks up and picks up a 3-second time penalty there as well for his troubles, after he went straight on as the second chicane of the lap. Doran up another position. No, he will not be complaining at that one. There's Mobes versus Haug into the final corner. Here comes the Red Bull having a look. He's very quick down the straights that don't have DRS, but down DRS straights is kind of negated by the fact that John Mobes has DRS ahead as well. I don't think he does this lap, as there is caution all over the road, and that is because we have a VSC. Just trying to see if it was a full safety car, as Doran looks like he locked up there. As just having a look down, no full safety car. It is a VSC. See a couple of cars pit. Salguero's one, Operator's another. Now this is the question: do you transition onto a 2-stop from here? 20 laps, so it'll be 10 laps apiece for your mediums. That is the question for these drivers. Do they choose the transition onto a 2-stop? Do they stick with the original 1-stop or the original 2-stop plan, as well as a drive-through for John Mobes, as he spins it as well on the gravel? And from a drive-through straight away goes even worse. As we go back under green, he's spun it on the green, and he must have been speeding to try and get back going again, as Hicks has pulled out a 6-second gap, 5.5-second gap over Hicks now, as Lewis enters the pits to retire, which is a shame for him this evening. We will see him next week, hopefully. Still in Vince, way quicker down the straight. He doesn't even need DRS probably. He just pulls straight out and gets the moving. Even worse for John Mopes. He picks up a 10-second time penalty for speeding into the pit lane on his drive-through, and that is absolutely horrible for him in this race. He needs a safety car to pull this back, and we'll see if he does. And hopefully for his sake he does. It'll be a good comeback for him. Speaking of comebacks, here's Doran. Who started the race in P5. Got a good start up to P4, then into turn 1 on the opening lap. After a literal good start, from the lights, he ended up on the grass at turn 1. Not too sure what happened, but he went off and spun round to 17th by turn 2. And you can see the gap between turn 1 and turn 2. It's not even 5 metres. So that's just how his race started. You can just see the big train of cars here. But quite a bit of overtaking, so it's not just all in one line. As there goes Preb into the wall. Damage to the front wing. He's lucky he's right by the pit as he enters straight away. And into the pits goes the Williams for an earlier than scheduled stop for a front wing. And he's probably going to transition onto the 2-stop of a medium now. There's Alex Haug is fighting Wakey Joe through turn 1 for P6. This is shaping up to be a good battle. Doran is doing well. Alex Haig just having a little peek. Can't get there. His Energy Dan has pulled back to just outside of the DRS of the cars in front. He has Billy G behind, who, consistent as ever, is back into the top 10. And he just seems to keep there. As that's an interesting strategy from Alex Haig to overtake before the Parabolica. That is definitely interesting. As actually there goes Wakey Joe into the pit. He gets the DRS, but he gets a 10-second penalty for speeding into the pits. And that seems to be the theme of the race, is 10-second penalties. I guess when you don't have a chicane entry in the pits like Saudi Arabia, it's just easy to pick it up for late braking and lock-ups. But now that leaves Doran and Alex Haig to fight alone as John Mopes picks up a second 10-second time penalty for entering the pits to make his first stop of the race. And that is horribly unlucky, this race, for John Mopes. Halvor versus Matty, and Matty just hanging on to the back of the Red Bull Dylan Vince, who is, of course, a reserve tonight. Just going to do a double check if he is demoted back down to Division 3. No, Dylan Vince is in Division 2, of course. Whereas, speaking of, enters the pits to make his first stop of the race. 11 laps gone on the mediums. Lap 12 begins for cars around him. Just had to double check there myself. He is in Division 2. Still has the Division 3 role, so I believe he might actually be a reserve. So, we'll just see what does happen post-race in terms of the points that he does score. Or if he scores, of course, Doran another lock-up. And it seems to be the theme of this race, entering to the Della Roggia, his lock-ups. And entering the pits is a lot of lock-ups due to everyone speeding. And that is something hopefully a lot of the drivers around have figured. I think maybe I just break her 10 seconds earlier. Or 10 seconds earlier, or 10th earlier. Sorry. To avoid a 10 seconds. So losing a 10th doesn't really matter in the long run, as long as you don't lose 10 seconds because you don't try and gain a 10th here. But Alex Haug is starting to pull back in on Halvor, and a possible podium position for these guys up front. You can see the left front of Doran. We'll see it entering the braking zone. How absolutely braced it is. You can see there on the rear left, it's absolutely wrecked. You'll see entering the braking zone when his tyres begins to slow down, and you can see during the lock up there, it is absolutely wrecked. So he might be hitting quite high up on percentage. Halvor, we'll check his tyres during the braking zone now. There's another car into the pits. Seems to be picking up a couple marbles as well. A couple of spots on the tyre, implying age of the tyre and the percentage of the tyre. That's 14 laps gone from the start of the race. Well, 13 laps gone, sorry, from the start of the race. So not a good look for the people that have just swapped on. And yeah, as you would just point out, that so many 10 seconds. So you might want to be telling your drivers to just brake a little bit earlier for the pit lane. As the speed they will take through Ascari, and Ascari there, that's off for Energy Dan, who's lost the majority of that front wing. And that is purely unlucky. Dylan Vince picks up a 3-second time penalty as Matty enters the pits. Matty with the 10-second time penalty. And that's more or less taking him out of contention for P2. Might take him out of contention for, well, probably will take him out of contention for the win as well. Possibly even a P3 contention has gone there. As that 10 seconds can be very costly. He's got to do half the race on the new mediums, as long as he's not double stopping, which would be, in fact, worse now the fact that he's just picked up a 10 seconds. So he's losing the time with the 2-stop, and then he's losing the time with the 10 seconds on top of that as well. And this has become a race 10 seconds time penalties so far. I believe, there we go, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 10-second penalties in this race. Of course, Hicks picked his up on the opening lap for cutting the first chicane. Didn't overtake Ronnie. Was in the lead. He just decided to skip the second part of the opening chicane. He did the first one completely fine. Saw out the escape road through turn 2 and did what Max Verstappen did in the F1 Grand Prix and just cut it. Just thought, I don't need to go there. And proceeded to cut that inside line. Alex Howe is back into the DRS Halvor now. Will we see a lunge from the Red Bull? No, he's just going to sit behind and just sit behind him for a bit. Maybe put him under a bit of pressure. And then, so it's Alex Haig just behind his fellow OWR member there. And entering underneath the old tunnel, you can see the bank in there. It's impressive they have it modelled into the game. Would be nice to have it as an alternate layout, which would be very, very fun to drive, and I'd recommend that straight at the admins to do an alternate race around Monza, around the bank, and have some IndyCar style drafting. And NASCAR drafting, bump drafting would be very, very fun to see in F1 cars, but I doubt we'll ever see that. As into the pits comes Halvor, into the pits comes Alex Haig, and no penalties picked up for the pair of them. Ronnie in as well. It's a double stack for Sauber. There we go, tyres on mediums, perfect for him. Ronnie just going to come in, he's going to be delayed by a 10th. Now this is going to be interesting between the two. Here comes Alex Haug, and he gets ahead of his teammate, and that is costly double stack for the Saubers as they fall out behind Billy G. Billy G up to P9. And this will cycle back up to, so as it stands, actually I believe Dylan Vince is in the net race lead, and then it's Wakey Joe and Ronnie for P2 and P3. Matty's P4, just behind though. Then it's Preb, Billy G, Alex Haug. And Doran's picked up a 3-second time penalty there. That's his first of the race, and we'll see if Hicks comes in. No, Hicks stays out another lap. He's gonna do a one stop. This will be very interesting with the 10-second time penalty. He's gonna lose a lot of time. The undercut is very powerful around here. Matty with a 3-second as well. Doran in, breaks early, massive lock up. Doesn't pick up a 10-second, and he's in cleanly. Sonic Hawk follows suit. Way too quick. No downshift. You want to be downshifting as quick as you can there. Dylan Vince takes P2. As Ronnie takes P3. As there we go. Best strat, hard medium. End of lap 17. So Hicks, according to Maple, has the best strategy out of everyone in this race. Dylan Vince, interestingly enough, is P2. However, does have a 3-second time penalty. Ronnie completely clean in this race. Same for Preb, Alex Haug. And Halvor, as Alex Haug gets past Preb now, and it's an all bit of a mess here with a couple cars on tracks with each other. Doran with the freshest tyres. He's got to do 10 laps on them to get them to the end. But Wakey Joe's going to have a bit of a tall task to get them from 16 laps. It'll be on the mediums. Don't think he'll be doing that. I believe he'll be pitting again from P4. As into the pits comes Hicks. Here we go. This is for the race lead. He's going to come out ahead of Dylan Vince, and that means Hicks is flying out front. You can see the gap just drop, and then out the pits he comes. He's ahead of the Red Bull. However, he's still got his 10-second time penalty, which is weird. So I believe he'll be saving that at the end of the race. So now he needs to pull out a 10-second gap, or at least a 7-second gap on Dylan Vince. That means a 10-second gap over Ronnie. He has 4 of which already, and the fresher tyres by 2 laps. So, in theory, an easy task. In execution, be interesting. I believe if it's a corner cut in 10 seconds, they don't save that in the pits. However, if it's a time penalty from speed in the pits, they do save it. I think that is the in-game rules, in-game coding, which is kind of weird to see. Which I don't think that's real life rules. Of course, they don't really get 10 seconds for going off track in real life either. Just for cutting in inside chicane. Max Haug just behind Halvor, and this has been a battle that has been there for kind of most of the race. This recently has been. Doran was there, and Doran is starting to pull back into this little battle with a lap fresher tyres, which of course gives him a bit more grip than the two in front, and it looks like he's using that well. Undercut is very powerful, but it's interesting to see as Apple says Hicks will win with over 10 seconds. Mediums of Ronnie will fall off, and it'll be interesting to see if those do fall off, because it'll be Matty's that fall off first, as Wakey Joe has pit again for a second set of hards, or his first. I think that's his first set of hards actually. So it'll be anyone who falls off first. It'll be Billy G, then it'll be Matty, who's just picked up a 3-second time penalty there, has Billy G. Matty will be second to pit or fall off. Then it'll be Ronnie, Halvor and Alex Haug. Then Doran will be last, as there we go, Hicks with the fastest lap of the race. He has a 7-second gap over Ronnie. 5 seconds, well 8 seconds now, sorry, over Ronnie and a 5-second gap over Dylan Vince. He just needs to pull it out 2 seconds overall, and he will be doing that very quick with much fresher tyres and a lot more pace as Alex Haug versus Doran. Doran having a little luck. He's not going to go up the inside. Doesn't take my advice for no ABS. Remember, I'm asking me on the former F1 games. And I'm not really the best person to get advice off. As you can tell, I'm a commentator, not a racer. And when I did race, I was in the wall very often. John Mobe's on a comeback back to P11. Just behind, I believe, his friend, John Energy Dan. So, this will be a little funny race between these two. We'll see if it does pull off, or end in fireworks or tears for either of them. As into the pits comes Salguero and operator 2. Nate Creed pitted the lap previous on his teammates, and he's going to undercut him and get ahead. Down in P15. Not too far behind the Alpine though. Might be able to pull back in towards the end of the race. These three are providing quite a lot of the action so far. And here we go. Down the main straight. Doran on the back of Haug. Can he have a look at it? He's got the DRS, he's got the slipstream. Is he going to have a little inch up into turn 1? Not enough braking. Not enough late braking for the Aston Martin. He's very close to the back of that Red Bull though on the exit. Practically pushing Alex Haug up to speed through turn 2. Out of turn 2. And entering into the chicane. Here we go. Pair of them. Just kind of... It might just be a job of pulling in on Matty. And if Doran can get past, I think he will, because he needs to get past Halvor with the 3-second penalty. He'll just kind of hope Halvor picks one up himself, which would kind of spoil a bit of it. It would even the battle out. Would have been nice to see though. Nice to see clean non-penalties races, as Ronnie has got no penalties of course as well. So far in this race he is flying. And there we go. Hicks has pulled out over 10 seconds on Ronnie as we speak of him, and has pulled over 7 seconds of Dylan Vince. So that is Hicks into the net race lead again due to the 10-second penalty. He's in the race lead on track. With the penalty race he is in the lead again due to that 10-second penalty he picked up on the opening lap. So I guess that's the strat for all Division 2 drivers tomorrow. Just cut turn 1, get a 10-second, and race off into the lead. Of course, don't do that. You'll get multiple penalties from the stewards, and that is just all a bit of a joke. There's Energy Dan overtakes Billy G, who's into the pits for softs with 6 to go. Onto the softs is a very bold move. Is absolutely flying out front is Hicks, and this will be a strong interview or strong result to Delmans to have a look at a possible move up to Division 2. Or it might just be a strong track, of course. Everyone has a strong track. My personal strong track was Canada. I always managed to pull out of nowhere a podium and a top 3. I think I got a pole there a couple of seasons ago when it was in Canada. So that's always my not a bogey track, it's a specialty track. As Matty so slow on the exit, and that because he's entering the pit lane because Halvor caught up, and Halvor actually didn't get DRS off of that. Wasn't close enough at the detection point, and that is kind of screwed him over that straight there. He was kind of hoping for that. Didn't work out for him. And it's smart racing to just kind of save your entire battery around the entire lap. Just forget the second straight and the back straights. Just save it all for the main straight, or if you're Doran, I think you could just save down the main straight with the DRS that you have. You have the speed, use it down the back straight, And if I was any of those cars in a DRS straight, I wouldn't use down the main straight. I'd use it down the back 2 straights. So the second DRS point and then this straight that Vince is about to come onto, this one here. Because you can just get so much of a run down into the Parabolica and then get ahead. That's of course if you're in a train and you have a car ahead that you can pick DRS up of as well. And that's an interesting one, as there's yellows for John Mobes by the looks of it. He's back on track. Might not have been. Might have been somewhere else. It was John Mobes. You 12 laps on the hards. Same amount of laps as Dylan Vince there in P2. Who is still just ahead of Ronnie by a 10th in terms of penalties. Kind of where he wants to be on the road. He's just edging this this P2 out with 4 laps to go. He's kind of dropped under it there, has Ronnie. We'll see if it pulls back out towards the end of the lap or if it stays stable. So it looks like there's a big train down at the turn 1. I'll have a little look at that, and there we go. It's about 4 cars long. Preb with the fresher tyres over Dan, and we'll see him pull right in to the back of that car. Doran again, so close down this back straight here, and he's just doesn't have the power to pull back. He's got a better exit than Alex Howell got the final corner though. Who's charged the battery for this straight? Who's got the lower downforce? Who's got the ball going into turn 1? Looks like Alex Howell's got the better slipstream. And no one has the balls into turn 1 to have a look at a move. And we'll see one from Preb. Might see one from Wakey Joe as well. And Billy G will pull back in there. That's Preb in the gravel. Preb round, Preb in the wall. And I'm not too sure what happened there. That looked like a lot of understeer out of that final corner. And that is so unlucky for Preb. Just got a lot of understeer by the looks of it. Went way out wide into the gravel. Kept it on the throttle, and round he goes. And into the wall. And he has retired in the pits. And that's an unlucky end there, as Alex Haugen, Doran have swapped positions because Doran's off in the wall. Alex Haugen's out the DRS and Doran is off in the Ascari barriers. Of course, damages on reduced, I believe, for Div 3. Might be on standard. I'm not too sure what the damage model is on this game. Haven't really tried it. But that is so unlucky for Doran. P6, more than guaranteed. Now, possibly a P4, possibly even a P5, but it is a guaranteed P6 for him. But we'll see. Oh, Halvor, very slidey though. You can see the tyres are just hanging on for these final 2 laps. This is going to be he needs to be so cautious, does Hicks. He's got the 2 left cars in front, of course, as well. Giving him a bit of dirty hit. One of them goes off, lets him through. Easy enough. As the second goal. Give him a bit of DRS to possibly go for a last gasp. Fastest lap attempt. And he gets past before turn 1. As Billy G has a little bit of a skid. By the looks of it, the Scotsman down again as Sonic Hawk's in the wall. Through Ascari, and P7 guaranteed a 17-second gap behind him. And that's in the wall on the final lap of the race. Second to final lap, penultimate lap. Just off the right there is where it's happened. It looks like Energy Dan nearly followed him into that wall on that lap. And this is going to be sketchy for all these drivers now. This is going to be very fun to watch. If you're looking to see some skill and saves and drifting. But if you're the drivers, guarantee you're not going to be enjoying that one on the final lap. And you see just how much lack of grip, how little grip there is for quite a few of these drivers. But it is going to be Hicks though. Once again, he's led from the opening lap. He obviously lost it during the pit stops, but absolutely rapid this entire race. And it's going to be Hicks alone, leading and winning in Monza. His second win on the season since Japan. Dylan Vince making his return to Division 2 gets P2. Division 3 gets to P2. Ronnie just a 10th behind him with the penalty. Gets P3. It'll be Halvor just ahead of Alex Haug in P4 and P5. And it'll be Doran in P6 after what looked like an unlucky spin out of the final chicane. Not the final corner, the Ascari chicane. So yeah, the final chicane on the penultimate lap, and into the wall he went and lost 6 seconds due to that. But Wakey Joe will come home in P7. John Mobes on the road will get a P8. Won't be P8 thanks to the penalties. P8 for Matty, P9 for Billy G. Sorry, P9 for Energy Dan. P10 for Billy G, P11 for John Mobes. And it'll be P12 for Salguero. P13, 14 for Nate Creed, Sonic Hawk, Preb and Lewis. All DNFs in the race. And I'm going to be honest, my driver of the day, I'm going to have to give to probably Doran. Due to that comeback from P17. Absolutely rapid in the end. Quite a great comeback for him. Winner is Hicks. Fastest lap, of course, goes to Hicks as well. So it's a double for him. Overtakes, well, most overtakes obviously goes to Doran. Due to his impressive comeback from P17. Not on the grid, he's had a spin on lap 1. Dylan Vince from P16 to P2 though, with a very impressive display for the Division 2 man. And that'll be from Monza, of course, Division 2. You'll see Dylan Vince tomorrow in Division 2. He'll be racing once again in Monza. Division 1 on Wednesday, and next week we will be, well, not in Monza again. Next week it will be, oh, I've clicked the wrong link there. As next week it'll be Miami for Division 3 and of course, Division 1. But that'll be it from me. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye.